A lot of people walked past the old man sitting near the subway entrance every day. Most of them never even looked at him. Some dropped spare change into the worn-out coffee cup beside his feet. Others crossed the street to avoid him. To them, he was just another homeless veteran sitting on a sidewalk in downtown Boston. But one afternoon, everything changed, and by the next morning, the entire city knew his name. His name was Thomas Carter. He was 67 years old. His beard was grey and uneven. His jacket was faded and patched at the elbows. His boots had clearly survived more winters than most people in the city. Every morning, Thomas sat near the entrance of the Park Street subway station. He never begged loudly. He never chased people for money. He simply sat there quietly with a cardboard sign that read, "Veteran, God bless." Some days he made $10. Some days he made nothing. But he always said thank you, even to people who didn't give him anything. Most people assumed he had always been poor. They were wrong, very wrong. Years earlier, Thomas Carter had been a sergeant in the United States Army. He served 2 tours overseas. His friends used to say he had nerves made of steel. But war changes people in ways that don't always heal. When Thomas returned home, the world felt unfamiliar. Crowded places made him anxious. Loud noises made him jump. Nightmares followed him like shadows. He tried to work regular jobs, construction, warehouse shifts, security guard. But the memories kept interrupting his life. Eventually, the jobs disappeared, then the apartment, then the savings. And one day, he realised he was living on the street. But Thomas never lost one thing, his instinct to protect others. That instinct would change everything on a rainy Thursday afternoon. It was around 4 p.m, rush hour was beginning. People were flooding into the subway station, umbrellas open, heads down, moving fast. Across the street, a young mother stood waiting for the traffic light with her 6-year-old daughter. The little girl wore a bright yellow raincoat and pink rain boots. She was jumping in puddles and laughing. The mother was distracted, checking her phone. When the crosswalk light turned green, they stepped into the street. But something went wrong. A delivery van came speeding around the corner. The driver never slowed down. Maybe he didn't see the red light. Maybe he was looking at his GPS. No one knows. What everyone does know is that the van was moving straight toward the little girl. People on the sidewalk screamed. The mother froze. Everything happened in less than 2 seconds. Thomas saw it from across the street. He didn't think. He didn't hesitate. He ran. For a 67-year-old man who lived on the streets, he moved surprisingly fast. Just before the van reached the crosswalk, Thomas lunged forward and shoved the little girl out of the way. She tumbled onto the wet pavement. The van screeched to a stop, only inches away from Thomas. The entire intersection went silent. For a moment, nobody moved. Then the little girl started crying. Her mother ran toward her and wrapped her in a hug. "You're okay, you're okay," she kept repeating. Thomas stepped back toward the sidewalk, like nothing unusual had happened. His heart was racing, but his voice stayed calm. "Watch the traffic, kiddo," he said gently. A crowd quickly gathered. Someone called the police. Another person called an ambulance. Several people had recorded the entire moment on their phones. Within hours, the video was everywhere. Local news stations picked it up that night. The headline read, "Homeless veteran saves child from oncoming vehicle." By the next morning, Millions of people had watched the video. But something unexpected happened. When the mayor of Boston saw the clip, he immediately recognized the man in the video, not as a homeless stranger, but as someone from his past. The mayor's office contacted the police department right away. "Find that man," the mayor said. Later that afternoon, reporters gathered near the subway entrance. Thomas was sitting in his usual spot, sipping coffee someone had given him. Suddenly, several black SUVs pulled up nearby. People started whispering. Security officers stepped out. Then the mayor himself walked toward Thomas. The cameras started rolling. Thomas looked confused. "Sir," the mayor said, extending his hand, "do you remember me?" Thomas studied his face carefully. At first he shook his head, then his eyes widened slightly. "Wait, are you—" The mayor smiled. "Daniel Brooks, Private Brooks." Memories rushed back instantly. 35 years earlier, in the middle of a war zone, Sergeant Thomas Carter had saved a young soldier's life. That young soldier was now the mayor of Boston. The crowd fell silent. Reporters leaned forward. The mayor turned to the cameras. "This man isn't just a hero from yesterday," he said. "He saved my life many years ago." Thomas looked embarrassed. "You would have done the same," he muttered. But the mayor shook his head. "No, Sergeant. I wouldn't be standing here today if it wasn't for you." The mayor then announced something that shocked everyone watching. The city would provide Thomas Carter with permanent housing, medical support, and a job with the Veterans Outreach Program. Applause broke out across the street, but Thomas looked overwhelmed. "I didn't save that little girl for a reward," he said quietly. The mayor nodded. "I know. That's exactly why you deserve one." A week later, Thomas moved into a small apartment not far from the river. For the first time in years, he slept in a real bed. But the biggest surprise came 2 weeks later. The little girl he saved showed up at his door with her mother. She handed him a drawing. It showed a stick-figure hero wearing a cape. Above it she wrote, "Thank you for saving me." Thomas smiled in a way no one had seen in years. Sometimes heroes wear uniforms. Sometimes they wear suits. And sometimes they sit quietly on a sidewalk where most people never bother to look. But when the moment comes, they still run toward danger. Because that's who they are.